Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of Sisters of Legacy. We are here. We're going to go ahead and run our intro and we shall return. And then there were two. So this week, we are down to just the two of us. You have the lovely Shanetta McNair and
Hello.
myself, Samantha. We are here this week. We know Trina is busy celebrating and doing mommy stuff. She got two graduates, one from college and one from high school. So she is on cloud nine,
Yeah,
busy
that's awesome.
and handling all her mommy activities. So she's not with us um, as per usual because she usually is, but she is out tonight. So me and Shanetta are gonna rock this topic out real quick and let you guys return to the rest of your evening. So our topic for tonight is yeah, why do we struggle with men leading? I mean, that's kind of like a loose topic, but the general thought is going to be around the great divide, how women, feel possibly, because of course we don't speak for all women because it's just us. Um, so we're just going to kind of talk about some of the things we've seen, some of the things we've experienced, some of the things we've heard. I know for myself, I'll probably even share some of the things that I've personally said at one time or another in the course of my life. But the big issue with men leading, do we have an issue with it? Is it something that we struggle with? Blessings, Jacqueline. Thanks for joining us. It's been a while. It's been a while. Um, so yeah, that's what we're gonna talk about. Do we struggle with it? Is it an issue? So I'll just jump right in. I will say 20-year-old Samantha struggled with that idea a whole lot, like when I was younger. And to be honest, probably all of my 20s. And yes, I got married at 21. So y'all just do that math. I struggled I struggled with that whole idea um probably for like the first several years of my marriage. And I think for me, it's not even the act of a man handling business and taking the lead and doing whatever. I think it's the verbiage that presents a problem for me. It's the way that it's stated that has always rubbed me the wrong way. Even now, if it's not said properly, it still will rub me a little bit. Naturally, at this age, I have more understanding of it, and I express my displeasure with it very differently than I did 20 years ago. But I grew up in a home with a single mother for a large part of my life. And then my mother later became married, but she raised, she was raising several kids as a single woman with no man. So my mother, when I say did everything, literally did everything. My mother could paint. My mother could fix something. My mother, if we moved,
She
we
passed.
moved.
Yeah.
Like, so I grew up in a home watching my mom for a large part of my life do everything. And no, she wasn't necessarily like the bitter woman, like, I don't need a man. She was just the woman that you got to do what you got to do.
Hmm.
So I grew up with that same kind of thought process. Not that I didn't need a man, but that I was good if I had to do it.
Hmm.
Um, which you would think, oh, well, that's not a really big deal. And for a minute, it wasn't. And then when I got married, and having to listen to people tell me that, oh, well, did you ask your husband? Oh, what does your husband think about this? And again, the verbiage and the way it was relayed to me just never really worked. Let me be clear. My husband is a man that takes care of his household. Is he perfect? Absolutely not. Does he get everything? And I'm going to say Samantha right? No. And the reason why I say Samantha right, because I notice a lot of times as women, we constitute things right and wrong based on how we would do it or how we think it should be done.
Hmm.
I hate to tell you, ladies, that does not necessarily make something wrong because it's done in a way that you would not do it or a way that you would not want it done. But we'll get back to that down the line. So, but my husband does take care of his household. He takes care of his children. He always has. That's never been an issue. My issue was just purely based on more so how I was raised. That I in my mind, if you drop me off in the desert or in the forest, I can kill an animal, clean it, and be fine. Like that's kind of always been my thought process. If I got to do it, I got to do it. Now,
I'm
is
gonna
it
starve.
something? Huh?
I'm gonna starve.
You say that now. You say that now, but if there was no mic, yeah,
I'm
I
gonna
don't think
be
you
eating berries and leaves.
it's not necessarily something that I might want to do, but I've always kind of had the thought process that if I got to do it, you know, I got to do it. So Shanetta,
So I think growing up in the 80s, 90s time frame, I think that that has something to do with the shift in women struggling with allowing men to lead. I think that there was a time where that was the norm, that was what was the natural expectation. um Women knew that they were being taught and trained to be homemakers, and that the men ran the home.
mm-hmm.
Not as many women went on to further their educations, went on to college. They just got the basic education. Girls were sent to home economics, and boys were sent to wood shop in high school. Those were standards at a certain point. Like those were things that were literally like done even within the school system. Girls were taught how to sew,
Right.
and boys were taught how to fix things. um in the home, the girls were taught how to bake and how to cook and how to do all these things and how to keep a home. And the careers, if they went into careers, were only a select few type of careers that girls or women could enter. So they would become your teachers, which still dealt with your children. They would become your nurses, which still dealt with taking care of people.
Right.
um, they would become your secretaries, which still dealt with allowing a man to lead, and
Right.
following through with whatever he needs to have organized. So when you think about that time frame of life, it was the norm for the man to lead in all situations, whether it was home, work, or whatever.
Okay.
um Enter the 80s and the 90s, the decades of the strong, independent, get your own, do your own thing, get your education, and become this independent woman phase of our societies and communities. And literally that's what began to happen. So we then end up growing up in that time frame where it is like that's being driven into us. So your parents may not necessarily be the ones driving it into you, but society is driving. You go to college, you get your education, you can be strong, you can be independent, and the family makeup is a little bit different. So overall, the message that's being communicated is I can do bad by myself or I can do good by myself. I don't need a man. I don't, and I mean, like literally, like this is stuff that's communicated and put out there into society. So I think that we, in a sense, as a whole, a shift was created. If it wasn't explicitly taught to you, what a man leading in the home looks like, you might have missed that message. You might have misunderstood what that means. So then you fast forward to like, even for me, like I saw my mom working 2 and 3 jobs. I saw my mom making a way when, you know, it seemed like, you know, we weren't going to have it, but she figured it out. I saw her with a man and I saw her without a man. So I got the message that, you know, I can do this by myself if I really, really needed to, have to, or want to. But I also got married at 20. So for me, I don't know, it wasn't hard to let him lead, but the thing about it is that I trusted him to lead. I had confidence in him, in his integrity as a man. Now, if I would have questioned his integrity, then I definitely would have had some struggle with regard to letting him lead. Like I just know it. Even, you know, even though in the back of my mind, you know, the man is the head of the household and all that kind of stuff, I would have struggled if I didn't trust his integrity. But we built a partnership to the point where I knew that even though he was the forerunner, that I could communicate to him what I felt was good, important, or needful, and that he would hear me. Not that he would treat me like, oh, you just a woman, sit down somewhere and be quiet. He respected my opinions as well. So we had a partnership, and we still do have a partnership to where he definitely leads, and it's not something I have to struggle with because 1, I trust his integrity. I trust him as a man. And 2, because we have a partnership and I know that I can communicate, hey, I don't think that's a good idea. And there have been times within our marriage where I've said, hey, I don't think that's a good idea. And he's like, okay, cool. That's not a good idea. We're not going to do it. And he would take the leadership role and be like, no, we're good. We're out. We're not in that. And then there have been other times where I said, hey, I don't think that's a good idea. And he's like, but I think this is the way we should go. And one of 2 things even happen in those situations. Either it works out and you're like, oh, babe, like you did a good job there. Look at you go making good decisions on your own. Or it can flip and be the other way. And you're like, well, that didn't work out so well. But how you respond to that didn't work out so well is key. Because I responded well and I responded wrong. I responded with I told you that wasn't going to work. And like it turned into like this whole big thing. Like, anybody asked you? I know you ain't asked me, and that's why it didn't work. You know, so now here we are. But it's also, you know, been one of those situations where, yeah, I knew that wasn't gonna work, and he's literally said to me, "Well, why didn't you say A, B, C, and D?" And I'm like, because I was letting you
do your thing.
So, I mean, it can go like so many different ways, but I think the struggle is that the message that's communicated is I'm strong, I'm independent, I can do this by myself, I'm educated, I'm this, I'm that. And I think that will create the generational struggle of allowing men to lead unless it's explicitly taught that we should do this. But I think our young men need to be explicitly taught how to create partnerships. Because you can't walk around beating yourself on the chest saying, I'm the man, and like, but you're not doing any of the things. My husband literally like will be in front of people, and it's not like a insulting thing. It's like an inside joke between us. And he'll be talking to somebody and he'll say something and he'll just be like randomly like, baby, who's the man? And I'm like, you the man. And I'll keep doing what I'm doing. Like, I'm not paying you no attention. You the man, you the man, like do your thing, whatever you like, whatever point you're proving right now, point proven, sir. And I keep on going about doing what I'm doing.
Right.
But even in that insider that we share, he really does know that he can make a call, and I trust his integrity enough to know that if he's making the call, he has a reason for it, and I can trust him because I know that he's not going to leave me out here high and dry. He's not going to let us fall. He's not going to let us fail. So my confidence in him is why I don't struggle with letting him lead. But I think when you lack that confidence, and when people say it in a demeaning way, I think that interferes with, like, what you mean? Like, I heard you say, like, someone saying, well, did you ask your husband? Well, what you mean? Like I don't have a brain. Like, I can't make decisions by myself. What you mean? Did I ask him? No, I didn't ask him. Don't nobody care what he thinks because that's how it makes you feel in that way. Like, but at the same time, if you say it the right way, like, hey, I don't want you to make this call without checking with, your spouse first. I think that that's more receptive than, well, did you ask your husband? Who you talking to? Do you know how old I am? Do you know me? So I was in Sam's last week, and a guy walked up to me. He was trying to get us to switch cell phone providers. And I listened to him for a few minutes, and I said, hey, look, because he had a really good deal. And like, I really was like, okay, yeah, I think we should switch. And I said, hey, listen, I hear everything you're saying, but let me talk to my husband first, because he typically makes the decisions about our cell phones and cable service or whatever, because that's his area. And he was like, well, aren't you the account holder? I am, sir. But listen, I'm going to say this one more time. I don't make these kind of decisions without my husband. So I'm going to need you to let me talk to my husband first. Okay. You want to give him a call? Because right now he's taking a nap. And I know that. And if I call him right now, you're going to get a nice, polite no. And he's going to tell me to keep walking and not make eye contact with you. I tell you what, give me your business card and we're going to come back around to you. Circle back around to it. Mike went and talked to him yesterday and got all the details and, got everything worked out. So all that to say was that in that moment, I could have made that decision. I knew it was a better deal, but I was not about to do it without letting him take the lead on that particular thing. Even if it was my strong area, I wasn't going to make that kind of decision for our household without consulting with him first because of the respect that I have for him. The cell phones, I think, are in my name. So like, I totally could have just been like, yeah, we're going to switch and had everything worked out and went on about my business. But no, I wanted to make sure that he was included as a part of that because we are partners. We have a partnership, even if I'm going to make the decision at the end of the day, because at the end of the day, he might come home and be like, yeah, what you think? Okay. You say, yeah. Okay. I'm gonna go back and tell them. Yeah. And then he will go back and he's representing us, even though he's probably representing my opinion. So that happens too. So I don't know. I said a lot.
No. You made some valid points. So let me ask you a question, because you said you got married at 20 and Mike was 28.
Yes.
Because I'm thinking about your questions that you answered. Okay, so do you think it was easier for you in the very beginning because he was older and you felt like, no? Okay.
No, his age still never has resonated with me. Like, it's not a thing. I've joked and told people, I don't really mean this. I've joked and tell people, how, women mature faster and men mature slower, that we were technically the same age because like he was probably a little slow and I was probably. So we're kind of like, we met in the middle. But no, that was a joke. But no, I don't think that played a huge role in it.
Okay.
Because like I said, from the beginning, we always established a partnership.
Okay.
So, and he had, like, when I was at that phase of my life, the key thing for me right before, even when we kind of first started like being friends and were around each other, the key thing for me was there were certain things that I knew that I wasn't gonna tolerate. It was certain looks that I wasn't, willing to accept. It was certain things that would just have me look at you and be like, nah, you resemble something else I done seen before. I'm not with that. So there were certain things for me, and like integrity was one of those things. Like, are you a man of your word? Do you do the things that you say you're going to do? That was a huge deal for me. So I would kind of watch and see, what type of integrity a person had in order to even and I think you've heard him say, I'm the type of person where I don't automatically trust people. I've been that way for a long time. People don't just walk up to me and just automatically get trust. Like, you literally have to earn my trust. And I'm watching you for a while, and you could do 10 great things and do one thing that makes me question, and I'm like, oh, you're done. Box over here. Don't trust you. So his integrity was a big deal for me, and he was a man of true integrity from the very beginning. Like, he didn't lie to me. He didn't give me no take me through the circle in the woods. Like, he wasn't leading me on with nothing. Like, I knew, and he was very clear with me from the beginning. So being able to trust him was something that I had, like, immediately. Like, I knew I trusted this man. Have there been times where there have been things where, like, a misstep or whatever later on in our relationship? Yeah, I'm like, I don't like how you did that. Like, don't do that again. And we would talk about it and get to the point where I'm like, yeah, I didn't like that. That felt some kind of way. So let's not, and he was like, okay, got you. I can't, we can't do that, because the trust piece was super important to me.
Right. So do you think that that the struggle now is because of the lack of trust? Like, because women don't feel like they can trust men as a whole?
I think so. I think that the general consensus is that we can't trust anyone. You sure can't trust nobody, but you definitely can't trust a man. So I think that's the message that's communicated. Like, and because we can't let down our guards, I can't let you lead me down the street, more or less in life, because I can't let my guard down. And I definitely think that's communicated a whole lot to um girls in general. Like, don't trust anybody, never trust a man. They only have the one thing. And like,
Right.
and not that it's certain messages we shouldn't be, communicating, because we do need to teach our daughters, like, to pay attention and to be aware.
Right.
And to kind of, have your head, on a swivel. Like, you need to know what's going on around you. Like, you can't just be out here just la la la, just living, on cloud nine. Girl, no, you need to pay attention to what's going on. But at the same time, I think we have to teach them how to pay attention to true and good connections when they enter a relationship, and to know that, yeah, no, you can't trust that man to buy you a Snickers bar. So you might not want to trust him with paying your rent, like your mortgage. He won't even pay for the Snickers bar. So yeah.
So like, okay, so like, but for those lessons, for you to know that, right? Like, going into a situation, where does that come from? Does that necessarily have to come from having a good father? Is it one of those things that you have to see? Is it a lesson that your mom can verbalize to you? Where do you think that thought process would have to come from?
I think it's a combination of places. I would not be one to say that I had all the benefits of, the perfect role models in the home or anything like that growing up. Like, they were there. They did the best they could with what they had at that time. It's kind of how I would, put that. But I do not think that it came from like, oh, you have this perfect role model. For my daughter, I expect her, I talk to her, I say things explicitly to her. but I do think she has a good role model in the home. I do
Right.
think that she can look to her dad and say, my dad is a man of this, my dad is a man of that. When I am ready to enter into a serious relationship, if he doesn't check these boxes like my dad, then he's a no. I do think that I say things explicitly to her. So if he checks these boxes as a man, my mama told me to look for this. So
Right.
now he checked the boxes. My mama said, and then she can also take her own experiences of what she's experienced, you know, in relationships of her own and say, and then these are my requirements. And she can kind of put that together and determine, you know, what it is that this relationship will turn out to be. Versus me, I think I had to create that image. We were talking, was it us talking at one of the couples things about
Probably.
couples that we looked up to?
Yes.
Okay, so in thinking about that, and I think one of us, somebody mentioned the Cosbys.
Oh, right.
And was that Monday when we were talking?
Yes, Monday.
Okay. So in that, I think that over the years, like I've taken, you know, movie and TV images and said, that's what I want. That's how I want my, you know, my family to look. Like there was a time in my life where I was like, I just want my life to be like the Cosbys. Like I'm going to be an attorney. My husband's going to be this great doctor. We're going to have these kids and we're going to like live in this, not really a brownstone. We were going to live in a house and like, it was just going to be, you know, just picture perfect. Right.
Mhm.
And this is the way our family was going to be. But that image of Claire was not just let your man lead. It was more of a strong, independent Black woman. Like you're strong, you're independent, you're career driven. You can do this. You can have a career and be a mom too. So it was like all of that. So like in my head, like those are some things that I kind of like embedded. And I was just like, you know, yes, my kids are gonna have this, they're gonna have that. And then there was a time where it was just kind of like, well, like that's not the path. And I mean, you know, we might have been a little similar to the Cosbys a little bit, but you know, we kind of whooped our kids too. So there's that. Um so you know, that changes things, of course.
You know,
Um,
I can't imagine him spanking them. I just
who Michael McNair? Is that who you say? Listen, you got to have a whole show with my kids then. Because Michael McNair brought the hammer down, okay? He brought it down. Like the kids, I had two of the kids were just talking about him yesterday and about him whooping them yesterday.
I
And
just
they
don't
were like,
see it.
and they were like, Mommy.
I mean, I haven't even seen him like get upset yet. And it's
Oh,
been what, two going on 3 years?
and he doesn't. Like that's the thing is that he would get them and he would be like the calmest, smoothest person. I would be yelling at the top of my lungs, looking like a little crazy person running around the house fussing at people. And he would be so smooth and he'd be like, come here. And I'm like, oh Lord, he about to kill him. Cause like he would be like, come here. And he would go in the room, close the door, and you know, that was that.
Wow.
They come out, they be sniffly and crying for a little while. But the crazier part is that they would go and cuddle and hug him before, like I could beat the daylights out of them, and they would be looking at me like, you know, and he whooped somebody and they would come like a little bit later and they would just lay their head on his shoulder or, you know, just, yeah. So he had like that love but stern relationship and still does because he can like my daughter told me a few weeks ago, she was like, well, Mommy, the fussing is worse. She hit something in the car, didn't tell us. We dropped her off. I told you about this. So we dropped her off back at school and he walked outside and looked at the car and immediately noticed that something had happened. And so he's like, did she tell you? I'm like, no, I had her in the car for 2 whole hours driving her back to school. What do you mean? And he's like, she hit something. So I called her and she was like, I said, what did you think was going to happen? The worst we were going to do was talk to you. She said, Mommy, sometimes that's worse than just getting a whooping. And I was like, poor thing, she didn't even want us to talk about it. And he waited for a long time before he actually talked to her about it. It had been probably a good month, and he hadn't said a word. Like, I had done fussed at her and everything over the phone about that accident. And we went and got her again before he even talked to her about it. He sat down and had a conversation with her, and they had their little heart to heart. She was in college. She's in college, so it's a little different now. But oh yeah, he bring the hammer down. He is the one.
Okay, so do you think that like, because I listen to, well, you see all over social media, on TV, anytime a woman get in front of the mic, it's kind of like, if a man can't do this for me or do that for me, he ain't worth whatever. Do you think that some of the problem is the misconception that they don't understand what kind of like what a man's role is, or what leading your household or your family looks like? Because I feel like lately, everything has become so transactional. So, everything now you want to, put dollars and cents on it. When in reality, I know for me, like the meat of my relationship or my marriage has nothing to do with money. Like, the space that Anthony and I are in now, like I tell him all the time, if we had to get some boxes and live in the box, I'm in the box with you. We going, I'm gonna get some curtains. We gonna dress, we gonna dress our box up. But it's gonna be me and you, like it has nothing to do with money. And I think sometimes, especially as of late, somehow like everything has become about money. Like that's the focus. Like, if he can't give me this, or if he can't buy me that, then he can't lead me.
I think I do think that that's a huge focus in today's relationship statuses, social media, all that kind of stuff, where it's like you have to have this amount of money or be able to make this amount of money, have this credit score, have this, that, or the other thing before we can even build together or consider building together. So I do think that's something that overshadows the confidence or the trust that someone would have in a man in a relationship. I think it's unfortunate that that's the thing, because like you said, like if he say, hey, this is our cardboard box and this is where we be, this is where we be, like, because this is this is it. There have been times in our marriage over the last 20 some odd years has fluctuated. Like there have been ebbs and flows. And we've had different high points in our status. And there was a time, it's not this time, but there was a time in our marriage where I had a higher income. Right. And that didn't make a difference. Right. That did not control me saying, well, I make more money than you, so I wear the pants in this family, right, and I make all the decisions and all the calls. No, like we had a joint bank account and it was like, right, here's our money. Right. And this is what we're going to do with our money. These are the decisions that we're going to make. So I think, yeah, we get real confused about this money stuff real fast. In real relationships, and that's not the way it should be built or based on.
Jacqueline said, I'm assuming she meant what these women reveal is their brokenness. They were likely fatherless and cannot see the value of a man, not monetarily. Well, I definitely agree. They don't understand the value of a man, because I think sometimes we grow up and we look at these images and we place value in place. We put value on things that don't matter. Like when it's all said and done, it doesn't matter how much money you have. They're going to throw dirt on you, or they're going to light you on fire. Like it's the same for all of us. I'm just saying, either they're going to cremate you or they're going to throw dirt on you. No amount of money changes that. Aretha, she out there, they changed her clothes, they did all that. And when it was over, I think they threw dirt on her. Michael Jackson, Prince, with all his money and all that is our fate. So like the money don't matter. They're gonna put the same amount of dirt on you. There's no special dirt you're gonna get. Tawan said we in that box together when we down, and the house together when we up. That's a part of marriage that we signed up for. Absolutely. I agree. Taiwan, it's always good to see you. I agree. Right. We signed up for this. Listen,
Yeah.
we in this together. And for me, I feel like, like, but I got into this to be together. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Like I didn't get married because I was looking for someone to take care of me. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? Like when
Yeah.
when me and Anthony got married, I already had my own apartment.
Mm-hmm.
I already, I didn't have a car, but in New York, back then we didn't really need a car. You take the bus, take the train, you take the
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
New York is very different from the South. So
Yeah.
like, I had my own apartment, I had my own job, like I
Yeah.
had my own life. So when I got married, I wasn't looking for him to
To take
take
care of you.
care of me. Right. And like just like I feel now, I was looking to build something with someone,
Yeah.
like a family, a home, like, and all those things require money. Money's not the focus.
Yeah.
Money's
It was
not.
the same for me. When I got married, I had a job, I had an apartment, I was finishing up my degree. So I wasn't looking to be taken care of necessarily. I We were just joining together, and like I said, the building of that relationship together, we knew that we could build a partnership.
Right.
And it was about like we knew that. And the other part about it is that I knew that this wasn't like the height of what life looked like either. Like I knew that if I partner with him, he's not going to bring me down.
Right.
He's not going to make life horrible for me. He's going to enhance what I can do by myself.
Right.
He's going to make this better. So it wasn't a fear in marrying him because of like, well, what is this going to do to my lifestyle and my life? Now there have been times where I would jokingly, and I would even say it to him, like we would joke with each other, like, I should have married for money. And like he would joke with me sometimes too, like, girl, I should have married for money. You are broke. Like, what,
Right.
what are you doing? And I'm like, I know, babe. And we would joke, like that, but that's again a joke that we could share. We don't really mean that.
Right.
Um, what we really mean is that we have a really good partnership, and it didn't matter what we went through. I knew that I could trust him. I knew that I could get to the point and say, well, I don't want to make any decisions. And I've gotten to the place where I'm like, I don't want to do anything. I don't want to make decisions. I don't want to discuss it.
Right.
I don't want to figure it out. I don't want to map it out. I don't want to write it out. I don't want to do anything. You figure it out and have a nice day.
Right. Listen, I'm with you. I say that all the time. Like, I'm the oldest of five. I was my mom's first child. I was the true test dummy. Like, for a long time, it was me and my mama. And so, like, I was the second in command. Listen, I made enough decisions to last a lifetime. Like,
Yeah.
when people, that's the thing. Like, honestly, him leading is like
It's a relief.
a weight off my shoulders. Like
Yeah.
anytime that I could be like, oh, your dad, he got all the answers. I'm all in.
Yeah.
Anytime, I look, oh look, it's a bill. Cause here you go. They
Right.
want the money for the bill.
Yeah.
Listen, I feel like sometimes women, I don't think they understand the power in letting, getting out of the way. I'm not even going to say letting, because for some people, that's an issue. You let
Yeah.
him, okay. A man is, whatever.
Yeah.
But I think like the power that comes with me just getting out of the way, or me just having a seat.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, listen, that's like a day off. You don't understand,
Yeah.
like, the amount of pressure that you don't have to carry. Like,
Yeah.
that's the thing. I hear, I'm a boss, I'm a whatever. Truth be told, you don't really want to have to do all the stuff you do. You're doing it, yes. And you probably are doing it very, very well.
Right.
But that wasn't really what you wanted. Yes, you might want the success, but you didn't really want that painstaking, non-sleeping. Like you didn't
Right.
really want all that.
Right.
You didn't
Exactly.
want that.
Yep. Exactly.
So I know I sent you the video and I know you watched it. And the video was of this woman. And I think this is another reason why, women have a hard time sometimes with seeing a man as the head. The woman, she talks about, having to kind of I don't know, ask or demand that her husband take them on a family vacation with kids. And she goes on in the video and she talks about how he agrees to vacation, and basically all he had to do was have a nice relaxing night, get up the next day, and get ready to drive on the vacation. She goes into elongated details about how she had to pack all the kids' stuff, pack his stuff,
Right.
get all the snacks, pack the car, yada 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 yada. She goes on and on. She details the trip, how she did everything on the trip, even down to ordering the kids' meals, and for some strange reason, ordering
Ordering
his
his
meal
meal.
too, which was very disturbing because out of everything she said, I think that was the most disturbing part, that he pushed his menu to her for her to order for him.
Yeah.
Um, and then she goes on to say how after all of that, and she kissed the kids down, and da 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 da, then he tapped her on the shoulder because now the lights is out,
Mm-hmm.
and he feel like, oh, it's about to go down.
Mm-hmm.
And her response was like, no, sir, because I'm exhausted. And I think sometimes women misunderstand um, the difference in roles. And you can take that word, leave the word, whatever. Like, I'm a mother, regardless of what Anthony does.
Right. Yep.
I am a mother. Once I get pregnant, I am now a mother. Period. I
Mm-hmm.
have children to take care of. But at the same time, I am also a wife.
Mm-hmm.
So I am both of these things. Now, as a mother and a wife, I also have a responsibility to express my expectations to
Absolutely.
my husband as a father and to my husband as my man. So I
Absolutely.
definitely have to express to him things that I expect or would like to see happen in this joint parenting
Yeah.
because we both made these children.
Yep.
And I also, have to express to him things that I expect, out of him being my man. And
Mm-hmm.
so if I don't express these expectations in detail, because obviously she's great with details because she detailed the whole
Very
trip.
great with details.
She detailed the whole trip. Like, if I don't express these things in detail, to some degree, I can't be upset when I don't get whatever I think is supposed to happen in my mind. And
Right.
so many times I see women, we're upset because, okay, you asked for a vacation. Duh, we on vacation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and we get into, oh, well, he should have known. Doesn't really work that way. and
No.
and then your expectations have to be expressed. Like, we can't expect men to pull stuff out of the air. um Again, just like how we learn things, they learn things. So
Yeah.
maybe in their house, their mama did everything and daddy just showed up.
Yeah.
Some things are learned behaviors, but even with all the defaults, all the missteps, all the whatever that may happen, I don't feel it denotes the man from being the head. Now, I will say this: wisdom, though, will let you know that you can't let somebody run the train completely off a track.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to know how and when to do some different things to keep the ship upright. But at the same time, even if he falls flat on his face, it doesn't change the natural order in my
Right.
mind. Like it doesn't change the way that it is. Like I'm always only going to be a wife. I'm always only going to be a mother. It does not matter. I'm never going to be a father.
Right.
Never. If
Right.
he walks out tomorrow and never comes back, it does
Still
not
doesn't make you
change. Right. It does not make me a father by default. Sorry, it just doesn't happen. Just like, if he walks out, like, yeah, I'm no longer a wife. Now what is it? Now I'm head of my household
a
because I'm the adult here. But, like, I think we just have to understand that some
But
things,
if he comes back, that doesn't, just because you've been acting head of household
right.
does not mean that he comes back and you continue head of household. If you accept him back and he's coming back and
Except, right.
yeah,
That's
we go back to he is still the head and he
absolutely.
still leads. Um, but what that leadership looks like in your home and in my home, based on our experiences, might have to be a little different.
Right. It absolutely. I will say after, that whole comeback, yeah, we might have, you might have a probationary period. I'm just saying because at this point, I mean, it sounds funny, but in a sense, that's kind of what it is because you
Mhm.
have to regain
Yes.
my trust.
Yeah.
Like you said, like I have to be able to trust you. So no, I still feel like you may be the head, but we have to make a lot more joint decisions. I don't just trust
Yeah.
you to
We
do
have to
things. We have to
rebuild.
have more conversation. And here's the thing, like your house, your family dynamic, your marriage, you have to between you and your spouse has to be a place of comfortability.
Yeah.
Like you have to set your house up in the way that's the most comfortable for you. I
Yes.
will say that. And the most comfortable, between you and your spouse. Like it can't just be this is what I want and either, my way or the highway. Like I think there's give and take on both sides. But I will say, and I've told my husband this, I don't want to leave. I
Mhm.
don't want to be in the forefront. When I hear something, I don't want to be the one jumping out the bed trying to see who. If you don't get your behind, you know what I'm saying? When I see a bug, like
Right.
sometimes I get straight, I'm straight woman. When there's a bug,
That's not my job.
yeah, listen, in my
You
house,
know
he
how
will
I
tell
am.
you, I don't even take out the trash in my own
Right.
house. I
Yep.
cannot tell you the last time I've taken out the trash. And I'm talking about in almost 25 years.
Yeah.
I don't take out the trash. Even when we were separated, you can take out the trash while you see these kids because I don't take out the trash. We cannot be speaking. He know I will walk past that trash.
Yep.
I'm just not doing it. There's some things that just belong to him.
Yep.
Taking out the trash at night, he be half asleep, and I say, "Hey, did you did you secure the perimeter?" And he know what that means. Did you check all the doors when you came in? Like we started that a long time ago.
Yep.
He secured the perimeter, turned the light out. Like in our household, that's like the man's final check
Yeah.
that we safe for the night. So I
Yeah.
can close my eyes and I can go to sleep. I don't even sleep as sound when my husband's not here when I go to bed.
Agreed.
It's a different kind of sleep. Now, can I protect myself? Oh, absolutely. And
Yeah.
I got some assistance in
Yeah.
protecting myself. So trust me, like the having to protect me or my children,
Yeah.
there's no fear there. But it's a different level of confidence. Like
Absolutely.
that he brings and adds to my already confident existence. And that is the beauty
Hmm.
of being able like I said to step aside and to be the woman. That is the beauty of it. Like
Yeah.
that I get to I get to be
Get to be
beautiful
a
and
lady.
confident, huh?
get to be a lady.
Right, right. I'm
Yeah,
a lady. I tell him sometimes I'm a lady. I'm sensitive.
yeah,
Like like and I feel like sometimes as women we're missing that. Yes, I'm tough. And if you run up on me on the street, it's gonna be a problem. Know
mhm,
that. But at the end of the day, like I don't want to live in that space.
yes,
Like that's a DEF CON 9, I have no choice type of thing. Like that's not even the energy that I want to carry around. And I did. I'm sure, he probably somewhere shaking his head and saying, ooh, she sure did. Because, I lived in that space. Like I have to depend on me. But it's beautiful to not have to just depend on me.
yeah,
Like it makes me feel even more like a woman.
yes. Yeah, agree. I agree with all of that because, like, I mean, yeah, like there are certain roles that I don't want to take on. I don't
Right.
want like I don't change light bulbs. Like I will walk past a blown light 100 times and be like, it's really dark
Right.
in this room. Like it's I can reach it, but
Absolutely.
it's really dark in here. Like we need more light in this room. I will like I mean it's just certain things that I'm just like,
Yep.
those are your things. I will drive my car on E.
Okay, that's see, I'm
Really,
with you all the way. We talked about
I
this
do.
gas thing.
I will. I'm not going to the gas station. And if you ask me to go because I'm on E, I have a whole attitude about it. And I'm gonna go because you asked me to, because you don't want me to run out of gas because you love me and care about me. But I'm gonna have an attitude, like, and we're gonna have to talk about this because, like, I don't go to like I don't go to the gas station. What do you mean? So they're just like, I mean, that's like that literally, like that's just is what I know is what he's spoiled me to
Right.
be accustomed to. And because like, and I'll be like, but I'm a lady. Like, why I gotta go to the gas station? Like, why am I subject to
Right.
such torture of going to get gas in the car that only I drive?
Right.
So
Listen, I have to admit, like, yeah. And now I'm not as bad as you are with the gas station. Like, I will go to the gas station, but I have an attitude. Like this morning, I was so mad because I had to go to the gas station to fill up my car. And then he had the nerve to show up at my job to switch the car out, but my car doesn't need to go to the shop. I don't care. I was mad. I filled up the tank this morning. Now you come to get it to take it to the shop. I was very disturbed. So yeah, like having him to pump the gas. Like I remember, I felt so accomplished. Let me tell you how young and I'll say immature I was. I felt accomplished when I learned how to change a tire because in my mind, oh yeah, I could change my own tire.
where I can do anything.
Right? What kind of dummy? Listen, I can. I definitely can change a tire. If I'm on the side of the road, please know that I can change my tire. But what I
Mhm.
need you to also know is I'm not changing my tire.
I'm not gonna do it.
Right. For whatever reason, my tire went flat at work a few weeks ago. I called them like, I got a flat tire. Now, mind you, I got roadside on my car. I got all that stuff. And
All the
maybe him
things.
come, he came all the way to my job to take
Absolutely.
care of my car. And I know, like, people are like, "Oh, that's ridiculous." It might be, but that listen, that made my day.
Yep.
He cared enough. He dropped everything to come take care of my car. But
Yeah.
that's some of the benefits of being in the place where I belong.
Yeah.
And then I don't try to push him into the space where I feel he belongs. I don't try to tell him this is how you lead me. Yeah, no,
Right.
I don't.
Yeah.
Like I now listen. Sometimes what I do say when I feel like we going to the left, I definitely will say that. And then if we go on to the left, it's like okay, now that we both realize that we're over here, how do
Mhm.
we get this thing turned around? But I
Right.
think it's important, like like to be clear. I allow, not allow.
Definitely.
I stay in my lane. I stay in my lane and I do the things that I feel I should as a wife and a
Yeah.
mother. And then I do the things, some things that he may expect that even I'm like, I don't know if I really would have came up with this on my own, but okay, if
Right.
you need this, as a husband, then okay, I got your back, and I'll do those things too. And then that goes vice versa because there are some things that I'm sure he's like, all right, I got you. I'll
Mhm.
do it. And like that's the beauty of relationship. That's
Yeah.
the beauty of like real connection. And like Taiwan said, that's like that's what we signed up for. Like I
Right.
didn't sign up just to get everything I want and not
Right.
have to do anything. I didn't
Right.
sign up, so he could answer every whim and feed me
Not do nothing.
great. Right.
Right.
And I just sit here, and turn around and show him my butt so,
Right.
he could be happy. Like that
Right.
wasn't a part of what either of us signed up with. It comes with responsibility on both sides. And I think, for women, you might feel like, oh, he messed stuff up. And he may a lot in the beginning, and but that says a lot too, that he's confident enough to make a decision, might
Mhm.
not be the right one, and you might have to help him get it out of the mud a few times, but he's willing to try. Like, there's certain things we have to look at from a different perspective. It's not ever going to be perfect. It's not ever going to be everything that we've imagined in our head, but sometimes I think they can definitely far outweigh what we've even thought of. They can surprise you. They can meet your expectations and exceed it. Like,
Yeah.
sometimes we have expectations based on what we've seen, what somebody told us.
Mhm.
Like there's certain things that my husband does. And honestly, I've been like, wow, like you did that for me. Like, I don't even, it's something that I probably never would have asked for. It's
Mhm.
something that I didn't even know that I would like. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yeah.
But he doesn't. And it's like, oh, like that's
Yeah.
so nice. I didn't even know that
Yeah.
I needed you to do that.
Right. Yeah. And that's
Like,
that's the relationship and the having a true partnership where you can see what your partner needs, and it's okay for you to respond to that because
right,
you have that comfort where you know, okay, I see she needs that, I see he needs that, like, let me respond to that need. The same way you can look at him and be like, oh, he needs some new undershirts, and
right,
not have to ask the question, but you go get
right,
him new undershirts where he can see a need that you have and quickly respond to that need, and you're like, oh, I didn't even realize, that's that's a true partnership.
right. So
Yeah.
at the end of the day, no matter what we think or what we feel, we know this world was built on connection.
Right.
We were built on being connected to one another in one way or another.
Yeah.
No offense, what you believe is what you believe, but like a plug, you got a plug, you got a socket. They go together.
Mhm.
Men and women, we were made to be together. We were made to work in sync. We were made to be connected. We were made to reproduce. All those things. But those things come with a lot of moving parts. And
Mhm.
we gotta stop picking the parts that we like and then thinking we can chuck the rest of it. Because
Right.
that is where all the division and the confusion comes in. As long as you want to pick, like when somebody say, "Do you know the alphabet?" You gotta go from A to Z. You
Mhm.
can't say, "Yeah, I know the alphabet, but I only do A, D, Q, P." That's not the alphabet.
Like the
But
alphabet.
that's how we want to be connected to one another. We don't
Right.
want to take the full extent of what the other one is. We want to pick the parts that we think suit us. And it's
Mhm.
always going to create a divide or division or confusion. You have to learn how to accept one another as we are, and
Yeah.
then find the beauty in who I am, because
Yeah.
there's so many things attached to it, and you'll even learn so many things about yourself, because there's things
Yeah.
I've learned about me that wasn't from him throwing them at me or fussing at me. It was just the course of us being connected that I
Right.
learned things about me. Give
Yep.
somebody a chance. Give a man a chance to show you what he's really made of. Give
Yeah.
him a chance. And when he gets it wrong, it's a part of being human.
Yeah. Part of it too is stop. People got to stop prematurely starting relationships and get to
Oh,
get
God.
to know people and stop having children. People you don't know.
Not having children, stay out the bed.
Right.
You
Like.
can't even get to know somebody. You ever notice, even if you get on the phone and you laying down trying to have a conversation, you so relaxed, you half hearing what they say, you don't miss half of what they said. The next day they show up and you like, oh, you said that last night? Girl,
Yes.
I was in the bed, I missed it. That's
Yeah.
what's happening. We
Yeah.
jumping in the bed and we're missing stuff.
Missing it.
And
Yeah.
that stuff is coming back to bite us in the behind.
Yep.
Like, just give it some time. The bed has always been there. It ain't never gonna go nowhere.
It's not
I
going
promise you.
anywhere.
It
Yeah.
will be there. Let's slow down. Let's build a decent foundation. Let's build a connection. Let's get to
Mhm.
know one another.
Yeah.
So men tend to refuse correction. I think it's all in the wording though. Because
Yeah.
if somebody tell me I'm refusing correction, yeah, that's not gonna generate a reception to anything you're saying. So
Right.
I think we all tend to not favor correction. I think it's just a way to say it. And then, like I said to maybe I said this to my husband. I said this to somebody today. Like, we want to correct somebody because they didn't do it the way we think it should be done.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't necessarily make it wrong. And even if it goes bad, it's just a bad decision. We
Yeah.
all make them at one point or another. I think we can all refuse correction. And I think sometimes how you um how you give that to somebody is how they receive it and give it back to you.
Hmm. It's all
So
in good communication. Like, I mean, how we communicate what needs to be said, done, or handled differently is key.
right,
Because it could very well be that it's just we come from two different worlds.
absolutely.
I was raised one way, you were raised one way. It doesn't mean another way. It doesn't mean that your way is wrong and my way is right. It means that we have to figure out the way that works best for us, and we need to communicate to figure out what that way is. But because we jump into stuff too fast sometimes, we haven't even had time to learn each other and to learn each other's backgrounds. And that's key too, like knowing that person's background and knowing what type of family they come from and what things that they decided to hold on to. Because you can have 5 kids raised in the same household and they act like completely different people when they
Woo!
start their own, lives or whatever. So it's
Don't
also
I know it?
what they decided to take with them, what they decided to latch on to in their life. And you need to make sure that those things mix well and blend well so that it's not much to correct, because we have a common way. Like, if I decided that I wanted to raise my kids without whooping them, but I married my husband, somewhere along the way we're gonna have problems because we have two different ways of looking at discipline. How are we going to solve this issue? I want my kids to be Muslim and he want the kids to be Christians. How are we coming together? Like, how is this going to work? We're unequally yoked. So that's key too, is making sure you with the right person that is going in the same direction as you. Because if y'all going in two different directions, that's not
Never
going
gonna work. So one last story, and then I'm gonna close. So Michael McNair, which is the husband of the wonderful woman you see sitting to my right. So I'm gonna tell you a story about Michael McNair. He's my hero, and when I become an adult, I'm going to be just like him. So his wife was being herself one day on the phone, and I said to her, "Get your husband on the phone. Get your husband on the phone. He's the reasonable one. I can't talk to you no more. I need your husband on the phone." So she gets him on the phone. Now, mind you, we weren't arguing. It was just Shanetta being Shanetta. You have to know her to understand the beauty of it. He gets on the phone, and I'm like, "Mike, I need your help. Your wife, da 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 da." He didn't say nothing. He listened to everything I said. Then he took a pause, and I'm looking at the phone like, did he hear me? Because he got quiet. And then he said, well, and he started talking very slow. He talked slow. He had an even tone. And when he was done, she was like, oh, okay. And I'm like, I need to learn how to do, I need to learn how to mic you because Mike got it. And I said all that to say, I called him. I was very excited in the moment, going, probably talking fast and everything. He didn't allow whatever I was saying to interfere with how he knows how to communicate with his wife. He knows the best way to communicate with her to get the best results out of her. And he mic'd her, got off the phone. He was like, yeah, I got this. And I was thinking, like, Mike is the man. This is why, this is why I called him. But I just want you guys to understand it's very important, though, how we say things, how we communicate with one another, knowing who we are and then knowing who the other person is. Because he know saying the wrong thing, just that conversation would have went on for over an hour. And then when I got off the phone, he would have had to do several more hours of it. He knew exactly how to lead without being there because he was on the phone.
Right.
He knew how to lead. She, she mellowed right out. He didn't demean her. He didn't talk down to her. He didn't tell her she was wrong. He corrected her without her even knowing she was being corrected.
Right.
Like, I thought when I got off the phone, right, like, wait a minute, what happened? When I got off the phone with them, I went straight to Anthony and was like, you will not believe what I just witnessed. I thought it was great and it was wonderful. And it just has reminded, like it reminds me like that the way, leading is a responsibility. Mm-hmm. And as for the men, if you're watching, yes, women, we don't always get it right. We come at you wrong. We say crazy stuff. We do a lot of stuff, but you have a greater responsibility. Like I said, no matter what I was doing, no matter what I was saying, and her going and me going, he didn't get pulled into that. He just did what he needed to do, told his wife he loved her, and got off the phone.
Yeah.
And it was not an issue. He understood the assignment. He understands his responsibility. He understands his position. And I think we all need to spend a little more time focusing on our position and understanding our position. So that will give people space to work out their own positions. So we're on every Thursday at 8 p.m. Hopefully we said something that will spark a conversation, or maybe you were like, whatever, y'all don't know. It's possible. Hey, work to me. That's all I can tell you. But hopefully it'll spark a conversation. We said something useful, or at the very least entertaining. But until next Thursday, you guys have a great night and be safe.